We have a full moon in Cancer coming up on the 13th of January, and normally this would be really amazing, the moon being full in the sign of her domicile. We love that for her. It happens once a year, and this time it actually comes with a couple little spices that we can talk about, and I'm going to show you exactly what I mean on a chart, and then we'll go through what can you do with that, even with some of these edits that are going on with the full moon this time. So let's jump into the chart. Okay, so here we see the chart of the full moon. I set it for Washington, D.C., for the capital of the United States, which is the country I'm in, just to make it a little bit more general for everybody. So we're really working with East Coast time here. And what you can see is if you're on the East Coast, typically if you're like down around that middle part of the East Coast, check your location for where this will actually show up. But right around 5:30 p.m., we're going to have the moon rising as the sun is setting. And the moon is rising over here. You can tell because the AC, the ascendant, is the horizon. So that's what we're looking for in the eastern sky where the sun would come up and we start seeing it. That's the horizon. And then the sun comes up at the east and everything else rises at the east as well. They set in the west. So here we can see this is the western sky where the sun has just set below the descendant and the moon is coming up over the ascendant with someone else. Right along the ascendant, right on top of it, we have Mars, which is just 4 degrees away from the moon, and the moon is moving toward Mars. So we would say the moon is applying to Mars. So in this situation, what we have for this full moon is really a lot of interesting energy. As you can see, the moon is talking to the sun by opposition, 23 degrees and 59 minutes for both of them. That's what makes it the full moon. But then by conjunction, we have Mars, who is retrograde and who doesn't necessarily like being in Cancer. And now that the sun has set, at least Mars isn't as malefic as Mars typically would be. So that's a little bonus for the Mars energy there. But nearby, we also have this exact, we would call this partile sextile aspect. Partile sextile, say that a bunch of times fast. It'll be fun. We have a partile sextile between the moon and Uranus, who is also retrograde, but that happens a little bit more frequently. So I'm not looking at that as much of a notable thing as I am Mars, especially since Mars is in a sign that's specific to Mars and Mars is right with the moon. By trine, we see that the moon also is near Neptune, which is partile trine to Mars. And of course, these are all interacting with the sun as well. Now, you can see that Pluto is on here. We're not going to talk about Pluto much here because Pluto is in Aquarius, so really not aspecting as much in this chart as the settings of this program might make you think. So we don't have to worry about that as much. What we are going to look at, though, is this moon and Mars. So again, we're looking at Mars, the nature of conflict, the nature of conflagration, the nature of heat and bringing heat to situations. And Mars, of course, being retrograde. So this being a little bit more unpredictable in nature. And then to add to that, we have Uranus, whose whole nature is unpredictability, is inspiration, is breakthroughs, but also breakdowns. And then trying to this, we have Neptune, who is the one that brings disillusion or brings illusion and brings the dissolving of borders and making things just a little bit fuzzier than they may have been before. So this full moon comes along with what would normally be dreamy, emotional, community-driven Cancer, where you're finding your place among the people that make you feel great about you. In this case, we may be doing that by way of knowing exactly who we don't want to be around. So there may be situations at this time where you're discovering the communities you're not necessarily feeling comfortable with, which is a big theme that's been going on for the last few months as well. And you may on this day get the sudden inspiration from Uranus to change your direction of the circles that you decide to, swim in or take part in your community or in, your social circles online. So just know if you don't have the answer right now, that's also okay. We do have Neptune here with that trine that's saying go with the flow. If we don't understand what's going on, if we're a little uncertain, that may be the best place to be right now. So in general, what I'm seeing here for this full moon is let's just imagine and decide what kind of communities we want to be a part of. Who are you? Who do you want to be? Who are you, and what kind of compromises are you not willing to make? And these things are going to help you find the circles of people that will welcome you as you are and not force you to fit into their box. And I think that that's going to be one of our bigger themes in a personal sense for this full moon. So I hope that this leads to incredible community, incredible feelings of being seen, understood, wanted, and needed by people, and that you get to see your own worth and find your own compassion for yourself through that. It's a great time for cleansing if we're working with folk magic. In the Modern School of Ancient Wisdom this week, we were sharing a cleansing spell that involves matches to really incorporate that Mars energy and bring that in, allow that into the space, where we strike a match and release things according to the recipe of the spell, which you can find if you join the student study tier. It'll be there for you the whole time. Everything is backed up. But regardless, whatever you're releasing this week, and tears are a form of releasing if you want to use them, whatever you're releasing this week, I know that it will move you forward and toward the things that you deserve to be a part of. And they will hopefully, and I'm sure, align with the things that you truly want, even if it's beyond and greater than what you thought you were going to get initially. I hope you have a really lovely full moon in Cancer, and I'll see you again for the next lunation in 2 weeks.